sure the mic's good and all of that stuff. Can everybody hear me well? Yes. Yeah? Are we good back there? Got thumbs up? Oh, I see Mel back there. Awesome. Good morning. I am so honored to be here. As Pastor shared this morning, I've gotten to journey with him, along with his beautiful wife, Miss Gail, who I love. And if you're watching online, Miss Gail, I love you. I miss you. I'm always praying for you. So I am honored to be in this house today. It has been a beautiful journey. I started out 5 years ago, actually, in Concord. I have a practice, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. It's called Cole Wellness, and praise be to God, the worship song we just listened to a minute ago, bless the Lord, oh my soul, all that is within me. You can actually see on our business card, Psalm 103, and that is where the word Cole came from. It means all. He is very much for all of us and whole. He wants us to be whole. And so that's where that come from. So I want to let you guys know, I do have an office, so I'm sure you may have questions at the end. I want to make sure that you get a business card. Miss Nikki is here, and she is my certified health coach that goes along with me now at the office, and she is so helpful and can answer a ton of questions and get you guys hooked up if anybody wants to see us there at the office. So now that all that logistic stuff's out of the way, do we have our presentation for today? Maybe? Oh, there it is. A healthy church for a ripe harvest, okay? I have been stirred tremendously in looking at the church, and this was the title the Lord gave me. Now, I have worked diligently with doing seed and harvest and markets around the area, providing fresh fruits and vegetables, teaching about healthy living, which if you haven't come to one, you need to come, okay? I'm inviting you to come to the next one here because it is phenomenal. There was close to 8,000 pounds of food given away yesterday to 73 households. So we are moving in the area and being a community, which is wonderful. But with that being said, that's my job. That is my career. That is a ministry that I do. But my most important ministry is this right here. Here are two of my children. On the left, you can see Aaron. On the right, Abby. And then my wonderful husband of 18 years, Alan. Now, next slide. We have a precious gift that was a wonderful, wonderful treasure to us. Her name is Ada. She's back in the back. She's our number 3. We have our adopted son, Logan, over here, who's number 4 as well. So we have a very high calling with our children and teaching them about Christ as well as what wholeness looks like, okay? So this is my family. We own 10 acres of land out in the middle of nowhere. Does anybody know where Mount Ulla is? Quite far from here. Okay, so literally out in the middle of nowhere. It's a blessing. We have fruit trees and organic agriculture, chickens, ducks, all of that good stuff. And that stems from food and what we've been exposed to over the years and what I've learned and how important it is to try to know where your food comes from, okay? But yeah, these are my babies. These are the most important treasures God's given me to take care of, but He has also blessed me with wisdom to share with you guys. Now, here's the scary thing. We'll go on to the next slide. I have a broken heart. I can tell you guys, a broken heart after watching so many folks that have come through my office that are on medications. And it's never one, it's several. So if you take one medication, for example, for maybe a headache or something like that, you end up taking another medication because it gets your upset stomach, and then you take another medication and another one and another one. It's this endless, vicious cycle. Now, mind you, I'm not against medicine, so I don't want it to sound like that. Conventional medicine has saved lives of many people that I love, okay? But these are alarming statistics. If you'll look up here, that 55% of Americans are actually taking prescription medication. 55%. So, out of curiosity, is there quite a few of you shake your head? Are you on medicine? Yeah. Okay, more than half. More than half. That's a scary thing to think, oh, wow. But did you know that up there, we have 14 different countries listed right here. 14 countries, out of 14 countries, the United States is the one that spends the most money. On average, $1,200 a month on medication in the United States of America. It's kind of scary, isn't it? 55%, that is, it's heartbreaking. That means that everybody's sick. There's something's wrong and something's going on. So we've created a culture of disease. That's what we've done, a dis-ease within our culture. Can you go to the next slide for me? Back one more. We ain't ready for that yet. So, chronic illness. Chronic illness. We've created a culture of disease. Dis-ease. That means there's no ease in your life when you're sick, right? It's a discord is what it is within your body somewhere. Mind, body, or spirit. Because sometimes it's spiritual. We don't even realize. And we're having discord, and we go to the doctor because we're feeling bad. Like, talk about stress for a second. Are we going to the Father for our stress? Or are we holding it? Right? And so what happens over the course of time is it causes it to be in our bodies, literally become in our bodies and causes chronic illnesses. So things like fibromyalgia, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, obesity. Obesity causes heart disease. It causes diabetes. It can cause a mirage of things. And with obesity, it's skyrocketed. You have approximately almost close to 40% of adults that are over 20 are obese, okay? That means you're shortening your lifespan. You've got also diabetes and cancer. How many of you know someone that has been touched with one of these diseases? Yeah. 1 out of 2 men, or 1 out of 2 women, 1 out of 3 men in America will in their lifetime have had cancer. That is alarming. That is alarming. So that means at least one of you guys, at least, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's a scary thought. And I kept thinking, what in the world? Why is that? Why do we keep, what is going on? There's panic attacks and disorders and things of that nature. That's another one that is rampant. I see several during the week. I see several a week that are dealing with this and are on several medications. So I started praying and I thought, Lord, why? What can I do? What can I do to make a difference? Because I can't be in your home and yours and yours and yours and yours and yours all the time, but we can share. And he's like, Amber, can you go to the next slide? It's my church. I was like, what are you, Lord, I don't understand. He's like, no, my church doesn't look any different than the world, right? Does it look different? How many of you raised your hands that, you've got family members that are sick? How many times have you been in your room or bed and wanted to volunteer or wanted to go do something or wanted to do some outreach or share with someone, but you're tired, right? You come home from work, you're exhausted, you got a headache, your foot's swelling, whatever it is, right? We don't look any different than the world. What we've done as a church body is succumb to the fact it's normal to be unhealthy. Pastor can tell you right now that is not the truth. That is not the truth. The Lord wants you to be healthy, okay? The statistics that I shared with you a little bit ago, the high statistics, because of the fact that we have been intertwined with the world and don't look any different, it's harder for us to carry the light into the world, right? There is greed in the food system, believe it or not. Can you believe that? Like grocery stores, they actually want to make money, right? What about the pharmaceutical industry? Do y'all see that number up there? That $1,200, that's a house payment, more than a house payment for some. We want to make sure that we are not succumb to the world so much so that we are not being strong in Christ and saying, that's not okay. It's not okay for greed to be in the food system. It's not okay that greed is in pharmaceutical. It's supposed to be helping people, right? But we as a church, nobody's saying anything. And I'm like, oh, we're just going to do like everybody else and it's okay. And God says, no, my church is sick. Volunteers and serving has decreased dramatically over the years. That's evident if you just go to any church. This church, I will say, has a healthy serving. There were so many volunteers yesterday. I was so grateful to see just that, the willingness of that. But then I thought, I can imagine how many more would be here if everyone was feeling good, right? What the church has done, and this one, and nobody's going to like what I'm about to say, but this is truth. This bottom one down here. The church, American church, the church as a whole, I'm not just talking about First Missionary. I'm talking about the Refuge. I'm talking about the Baptist Church across the street. I'm talking about all of the churches have put aside the sin of gluttony and idolatry. Right? So my question for you is, and I just shared this the other day, and it's so true. How many of you say, oh, if I just eat one chip, I'm going to eat the whole bag? Oh. Let's not claim it back there. Don't claim that. Hey, listen to me, church. If you cannot have control over a chip, how are you going to walk in power and authority of Christ Jesus? Right? And that is something that needs to change right now in the church body, is to understand that gluttony is a thing. It's a sin. We're out here marching for all of the other things and doing things, but nobody's willing to speak, you know? So I want to see you guys today, all of this information that I just started with here, all of these statistics and stuff like that, it's great. It's to give you an idea, the information, but I want you to leave here today with a new revelation, okay? Not just information, but a revelation of what God's calling you to as a church. He doesn't want to see his bride sick. He wants her white and pure for when he returns, and as Pastor said, he is soon coming, okay? So don't take gluttony and idolatry. We idolize food. Everything we do is around food, right? Everything that we do. We got a birthday, it's food. And don't say, my son's birthday is tomorrow, by the way. He's going to be 12. He's so tired this morning. So, but we do everything based around food, but could we do it a little different? We want to commune. Jesus communed. He had the supper. We do communion. Like, it's very important to have fellowship over food. But what kind of food, right? What kind of food? Now, do you believe that the Lord wants the healthy church? Do you believe that Jesus healed? Yeah? Okay. Next slide, please. Jesus told us before he left that the harvest would be plentiful, but the laborers few. Do you think it might be because we're sick? I can't tell you how many people that would call for volunteers, or even in my own family, extended family, oh, I can't do this, or I don't feel good, I'm too tired today, my head's, and you're like, okay, but do you want to preach Christ? Do you want to go share the gospel and do as he asks? Then you want to feel good doing it, because being the light of the Lord, you can't, oh, I don't feel good, but let me tell you about Jesus. Right? Or are you happy and you praise God? I feel good because I know my healer, and I know the one who made me perfect and whole. And that is the one that I want to tell you about. It should look different. It should look different. Okay, next slide, please. Do you see this right here? This is the revelation you need to understand. Your Father in heaven needs you to do kingdom work, and he is tired of you being sick and tired. He's tired of it. He's done. He's like, I'm over this. So awake, and make sure that you are going after wholeness in your own life. I am so thankful Pastor's going to have about relationships, because that's part of it. If you don't think having a bad relationship can make you sick, I'm so thankful for you, honey. Right? But this is what he desires for his bride. You are his bride, and he wants you healthy. Next slide, please. Oh, these are good. All right, listen, you're going to want to take a snapshot if you got a phone. I'm giving you permission to take your phone out, because I want you to study these when you go home. We're reading in Luke as a family. We do that. At Christmas, we always go back to Luke. And that is because there's 24 chapters, and it gives us, each day we can do the life of the Lord, of our Savior. And it's really good as a family. We enjoy it. We've enjoyed it for years. But there's something that hit me, again, my heartbreak, my just God, Father's heart for his bride. And this year, every time we would go to the next chapter, I'm like, y'all, did y'all see that? He's healing again. Like, oh, guess what tonight? He's healing again. Oh, he's healing again. So let me run through these. I'm going to you need to go back and read this, okay? So do your due diligence, seek out the word, but I'm going to read through a little bit of this. So, first one. This is Simon Peter's mother-in-law. She has a great fever, and Jesus stood over her and rebuked the fever, which when it left her, she arose and ministered to them. Next one. A man full of leprosy saw Jesus and fell on his face, asking him to be clean. He was begging Jesus to be clean. Jesus touched him and said, I will, be clean. Immediately, it departed. A man with a withered right hand. Pharisees and scribes that's one of those stories where you're like, oh, they were in the background just waiting to see if he was going to, oh, you're going to do that on the Sabbath? That's what he was doing. So Pharisees, they were there waiting to condemn him for healing on the Sabbath and to find accusation against him. But you know what he did to the man with the withered right hand? He said, rise up and stand in the midst. So then he told him to go on. Okay, then there's the centurion that came and humbly asked for Jesus to heal his servant. The faith of the centurion is what Jesus, he just basically, told him that you're the most faithful I've ever seen in Israel. Because he had him at home, and he's like, Lord, if you'll just say the word, he's going to be healed. And he was like, okay, I'll do that. He's healed. It's done, okay? So then we have a widow and Nan. This is chapter 7, so I'm down to chapter 7. A widow and Nan lost her son. They were carrying him through the town as they did at that time. And the mother was, of course, crying her eyes out. I could only imagine the heartbreak. She had her son in a casket, and they were taking him through the town because that's what they did. And Jesus told her, said, weep not. And touched the casket and said, young man, I say to thee, arise. And guess what happened? He rose up. All right. Then you have Mary Magdalene, who was healed of evil spirits and all of her infirmities. The disciples, they told and went back to John the Baptist when he was in prison and told them about all that they had seen Jesus do. I like this one a lot because Jairus had a 12-year-old daughter who was laying and dying, Jesus was on his way to his house, and on the way to his house, that's when, y'all know the lady that touched the hem of Jesus' garment? That's when that happened. So he's on the way to heal somebody, and this lady grabs a hold of his garment on the bottom, and virtue went out of him, right? And the lady was healed of a blood disease, just like that. But then he didn't forget about the 12-year-old. In the midst of it, by this time, folks are already saying, Jairus' daughter's dead, and Jesus like, fear not. All you got to do is believe. That's all you got to do. And she shall be made whole. That's the word. Now he received, the next one he received and spoke to them about the kingdom of God, healed tons of them that were in need of healing. There's also, he was reprimanded some of them back into about Luke 9, because the disciples weren't healing, but Jesus still could, right? And so Jesus would go back and be like, you're so faithless. Why are you not believing? And then he went and rebuked, and then they were clean and healed. And lastly, a woman who couldn't stand up straight. She had a crooked back, like this. For 18 years, she's like this, okay? 18 years. As long as I've been married to my husband, actually. That's a long time. Jesus said, right then, you're loose from your infirmities, laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight. Like this. So, next slide, please. So if Jesus came to heal, why are we so sick? Right? All of that I just told you, does everybody understand he heals? Like, y'all get that right? That was kind of my point. Like over and over and over and over and over again. Do you think that was for back then or today? Right, he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. That is what his word says. So, I noticed something when I was writing all this down and just kind of seeking out the Lord for you guys. There was an element that I was like, oh wait. And we talked about this the other night, and it made perfect sense. It was in a completely different context, but there is a participation that is lacking to acknowledge the healer. Okay? We want healing, pray for healing, but are we doing anything to meet our healer? Go to the next slide, please. Here's where I'm going to throw some tools. So, okay, I'm got you guys understanding the Jesus thing, right? He heals, he wants healing, Father wants his bride ready and whole. How many of you eat whole foods or exercise? Have accountability? right? Accountability is huge. That means someone that's got your back if you're feeling bad and you need some motivation. My most important food right there, spiritual food daily. Are you seeking out the Word of God every single day and filling back up? Because I'm going to tell you something, when stress comes along, and if you ain't got your food for the day, it's going to go whoosh, right on top of you. And you're going to be, right? But if you have spiritual food and you got the armor of God put on you for the day, it's not so, you're like, oh, stress? I don't have time for you, stress. I'm good. The Lord has control of this. And you get to walk it out better. Why? Because 15 minutes from now, you're going to get to see somebody in the middle of the street and tell them about your Jesus. But if you're feeling all crummy, it's going to be a lot harder, right? So, rest. He talks about resting. Did Jesus rest? Yes, he rested. He went out in solitude. He rested. Also, something else people don't talk about very much anymore is prayer and fasting. That doesn't mean, it means different things to different people, I understand. But biblically, look up what fasting is and what Jesus did and why he did it. And he fought the enemy off with just the words of the Lord when he was fasting, because his spirit was made strong and his flesh was made weak. So that's our problem. We've got flesh and we succumb to it, right? It's kind of what we were talking about the chip thing. We don't take power and authority over those things that we should. Okay? Water, last thing. Y'all see me, I've been drinking lots of water. Water is important too, but how many times in parallel of the word of the Lord have you heard about the Lord being the living water? You think it's important? Because what happens if it's stagnant? Right? It gets nasty. It's kind of like our bodies. Our bodies are mostly water. So because of that, if we stay stagnant, don't have movement, see up there at number 2, it's going to be stagnant. We have to have living water, both in the spirit as well as in the physical. Okay? All right, go to the next slide for me. All right, so you remember what I said? This one? The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. I encourage you to understand the importance of the few laborers, and if the Lord is seeking people out to say yes and you feel bad, it might be time to change a few things. Okay? I know that Solomon's going to have some vegetables and things like that for you today. Seek out when's the next market here? Do you know by chance? And you guys are so blessed with resources here at this church. You have no idea. The Nurse Theoma, they have programs all around that you can easily plug into. I mean, free exercise. You don't have to pay for the YMCA. You got free exercise that you can have a group of people. I saw a picture up there. It made me so excited. Not everybody has that, so take advantage of that. Because here's the deal. We don't want to be few laborers. Do y'all want to be the few laborers, or you want to be a church body that's going after the harvest that's very plentiful, right? We need to look different. We need to look different. Next slide, please. He wants you to be whole. He's ready for you to walk out all of the things. There's promises that each one of you all have, and I know that. To get to them, it's going to take action on your part too. You can't sit back and just use the excuse that you're sick anymore. Because you have tools here, you have plenty of folks that have walked this out, and you can see the difference in their life, and you want to bring wholeness to people. There is participation that is necessary for this to meet your healer too. So make sure that you understand there was action in every single one of those scriptures. He said, arise, go. This is the things that he was doing. He was telling them to do something, and their yes, that little boy that was in the casket, he just told him to arise, and he did. He arose. He did something. There was a participation in it. Okay? Next slide, please. This one right here, this is our commission. These are Jesus' words. These are not my words. These are Jesus' words in Matthew. We are to go out and preach the gospel, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils, because freely you have been given life. You have been given life. You freely need to give that away. It is a gift. You need to speak life. You need to be a light to somebody. You're called the salt and the light of the earth. You're called to go rescue the people that need to be saved. but you need to look different, church. You need to look different. Do not be that sick. Did you say, remember that picture of that church? I want you to remember that. Every time you see me, I want you to remember that. Sick church. We're supposed to be vibrant and full of life, and people are coming to know what's different about us. And what do we get to say together? Jesus. Jesus. Jesus is what makes me different. He's made me whole. Let me tell you about him. Okay? So this is your Great Commission. I urge you, there is an urgency on this earth for the church to look different. I know this is an intense word. It wasn't, the Lord changed things for me, and I knew that it was a word for you. There is too much talent in this place. There's so much talent in this place that needs to be brought forth so that all of this community will be changed, right? So guys, I want to thank you. I thank you for allowing me to be here. Again, I know it was an intense word. Go home, search those scriptures to understand really how Jesus wanted everyone he met to be made whole. Inside and out. Inside and out. It's always an inside out. Because when you fix the inside stuff, most of the time the outside stuff will help it, right? So I love you guys. I'm honored to be here. I know Nikki will be able to take questions and stuff like that if you guys have any. And we have resources available for Whole Foods, meal plans, and things like that. We have tons of resources if you go on our website. Subscribe by email, and I can send you all kinds of goodies, okay, to help you along on your journey, on your health journey. Every time you grab that bag of chips, though, remember what kind of power and authority that you have in your life, okay? So thank you for having me, guys. Pastor?